Am I an Arsenal fan? That is a question over the past 2 months that has been posed to me every single day, sometimes nicely, sometimes aggressively, over the past couple of months. Fan of Arsenal? I wonder. I just wonder. These are just a selection of comments on the channel. Terry is an undercover Arsenal fan. Terry, are you really not an Arsenal fan? Terry is a secret Arsenal fan. He sings and dances about them more than Robbie and Ty from AFTV. Terry is a secret Arsenal fan, an undercover Arsenal fan. Secretly, I think Terry is an Arsenal fan. These comments are coming in more and more frequently on the YouTube channel right here, and of course across social media as well. And why? Because I dare to praise Arsenal Football Club, because I admit that I have got things wrong about them in the past. We live in this world where everybody's got to be right. And of course, we all believe in our opinions. Nobody gives an opinion without thinking they're right. If you did, that is very strange to me. You've got to break it down. I can't dissect that psychologically. I don't have the capacity for that, big man. Of course, I think my opinions are right. But when I get things wrong, I think the bravest, although the hardest, but the most sensible thing to do is put your hands up and say, I've got that wrong, and embrace the reality of that situation. And Arsenal Football Club have been sensational this year, and they were showing lots of signs of it last year. Towards the end of last season, I thought they turned a corner. They collapsed at the end, and I remember being on a show with Lee, so that, maybe I got a little bit ahead of myself. They weren't quite where I thought, but they were still moving in the right direction. Let's see what happens over the summer and next year. And everybody wrote Arsenal off. Everybody wanted Arteta sack. Everybody said that he wasn't good enough. And now they've all been proven to be massively wrong. And instead of admitting it, what they're doing is accusing me of being a secret Arsenal fan. You can't be a United fan if you're saying these nice things about Arsenal Football Club. But remember, I have had these accusations when I've said Liverpool are the best team in the world, when I speak about how good Haaland is. There was a period where Chelsea were flying, and I was talking about them being so brilliant at that moment in time. Oh, you must be a Chelsea fan. No Man United fan would ever say that. My job is to talk about the top six teams. When I started this channel, that was the whole point of it. And I made a promise to myself that I wouldn't allow my biases, I wouldn't allow my preferences, I wouldn't allow my love for Manchester United to stop me from being objective when it comes to these conversations about the other members of the top six. I wanted to create a space that fans could come and talk about each other's clubs, just like it was when I was at school. This is all based on my school life. I went to school in London where you had a class of 30 kids, and there could be anywhere between 10 to 15 different teams supported in that room. And I love that environment. And that's exactly what I wanted to create on the terrace. But yeah, am I an Arsenal fan? Absolutely not. Never had been, never will be. I'll never leave Man United behind as a football club. I can't think of a reason as to why I would, but I'm never going to sit there and not praise another club for progressing and moving forward. Now, I do want to take a little bit of a look, backing up what I've said. I want to go through something that was said on the overlap by David Ornstein. I think it came out yesterday. Brilliant show, by the way. The link for it is in the description for us to react to here. But take a listen to this.
Opening point you made, Gary's previous criticism and you saying it was maybe a bit unfair. I think both points are probably true. Arsenal were quite a long way away at that point in time, and there were a lot of problems because there had been so many changes behind the scenes.
And by the way, before we continue, make sure you smash the like button, make sure you subscribe and download the One Football app, the best one-stop shop for football news, statistics, league tables, transfer stories, and you can watch Serie A for free every weekend on the app. There should be a game per weekend for free on the app. So get it downloaded now.
On and off the pitch. And they were not fulfilling the vision of Arteta and Edu at that point in time. They were quite a distance behind. But firstly, it shows us that we shouldn't form these judgments so instantly, and we should give these projects and these managers and people and players and executives time to.
And I want to stop David Ornstein there because that's what stood out to me. And I want to ask you this question because I'm undecided on how I think. I was wrong a year ago, 18 months ago, to suggest that Mikel Arteta wasn't good enough to even get Arsenal to this point. Is he even good enough to get them into the top 4? I know he hasn't actually done it, but no team in the history of the Premier League has started a campaign this well and not ended in the top 4. I think he's going to do it. But does that mean we shouldn't judge any project at any point, at any time? My head's kind of in this space of I'm in a happy. I think there's a happy medium. Maybe the sweeping statements from both sides, because there are still some Arteta fans who are saying, "I told you he would do this." I'm like, no, you said he's going to win league titles and Champions Leagues. You haven't done that yet. You haven't been proven right. Equally, there are some, the league gunners of this world that don't think he's good enough. Will never get Arsenal into a title race, and no matter what, and until he does it and delivers it, they won't show any joy at the progression. And I do think there's a happy medium here, and that's kind of why I wanted to address this, because I do and I don't agree with Ornstein. I understand people saying you've got to give this project time, and maybe everybody was a little bit harsh when it was looking messy and ropey. But you've got to factor in a little bit of PTSD and how people felt about Emery's project and the back end of the Wenger era. At the same time, though, he still hasn't delivered anything. And the one message I've got to Arsenal fans who may or may not want to listen to this is keep the pressure on. Love and support every brilliant moment, but keep the pressure on for investment. Keep the pressure on for new deals for the players. Keep the pressure on for the standards to stay high. Now, these things may happen organically. They may be being pushed by Arteta, by Edu, and by the dressing room itself. So there is nothing to worry about. But Arsenal fans can't rest on their laurels at this moment in time. They have to keep pushing for progression, because although the project is showing amazing signs, the progression has been brilliant. And for a lot of us, our claims a year ago that this guy's lost the dressing room, that he would never progress into he won't make the top 4, he won't ever get near a title race. I think we are being proven wrong, but I don't think people can take their foot off the neck of Arsenal and the Kroenkes and say, we are back. Because Arsenal, like Liverpool, like Chelsea, like Man United, in the world we now live in, we're the only commodity we deal in is trophies. That is it. Trophies, Premier Leagues, Champions Leagues, FA Cups, consistently be in the race for them. Our giant clubs, that is what we're made of. And how do we know this? There isn't an Arsenal fan worth his salt that when he's debating Arsenal being the biggest team in London, doesn't put all those medals on the table. The first thing Arsenal fans put in is that many league titles, that many FA Cups. That's why we're the best. So that's the commodity that makes you the biggest and the best in London. You have to keep the pressure on your club to keep winning that at all times.
Develop, because Arsenal have turned it around, and quite quickly, and they're now on a good path, and that owes a lot to a sort of long-term vision that really comes presumably from the owners and the executives that they give power to, in terms of at the top level. Tim Lewis is there on behalf of the ownership. Vinay Venkatesham is the chief executive. They've got Richard Garlick alongside Edu supporting him. They've actually slimmed down. They expanded in the previous regime, and they've made it a bit more streamlined now. And they've given them time and faith and patience. And they backed Mikel Arteta even when there was huge speculation over his future. But everybody in that hierarchy was squarely behind him and not for wavering. And also at ownership level, when there was the backlash over the European Super League, which we talked about on here last time, when there was the challenge to the Kroenke's ownership from Daniel Ek, supported by the likes of Thierry Henry, Dennis Bergkamp and Patrick Vieira, they wanted change at ownership level. That interest from Daniel Ek almost seems to have been the catalyst for the Arsenal owners, maybe a bit of a kick up the backside, a wake-up call to really connect with the club, with the project, with the fan base.
Now, I want to stop it there as well, because David Ornstein picks up on something really important if you just think back before the Daniel Ek comments. And that was very much around the club and the board and the backroom being slimmed down. They changed what they did under the previous regime. So what they tried doing with Wenger, what they tried doing with Unai Emery, it didn't work. They made changes. And this is something that football fans have got to really get their heads around. In 2022, the coach is exceedingly important. The manager or head coach, whatever phrase you want to use, is exceedingly important. Quality players is imperative. But they all, in my opinion, are insignificant if the way the club operates behind the scenes is not one of the best in class. If the way you operate at board level is not world class, you fail. The managers like Wenger, like Sir Alex Ferguson, that were managers of the club, they run the whole club. They're gone. They don't exist in 2022. so many of the duties that Wenger and Fergie undertook are now under the responsibility of technical directors, sporting directors, that the board members, the Edus of this world have been mentioned there, along with many other names. And that element for me is key. They were getting that right. We just couldn't see the fruits of that labor. They stuck with one of the most important things they did was sticking with Mikel Arteta, in the sense of, you are not throwing him under the bus. The players are not throwing you under the bus. We are not allowing player power to get rid of a manager. We're not allowing players to down tools. We're not allowing players to speak out poorly publicly and get away with it. Arteta is in charge, because Arsenal will recognize one major thing. Arsenal recognized that they're not protecting Arteta. This is the interesting thing. They are in the short term, but what they're doing is they are protecting the position of head coach, manager of the football club. That position needs to be protected at all times. You cannot allow player power. You cannot allow insubordination. You cannot allow these hybrid squads to be created, where you go through three managers in 5 to 6 years who all want different styles of football and buy different types of players, and there's no control they have over the squad, because you end up with an imbalanced squad who don't listen to their managers and at any point feel that they're empowered to get that individual sacked. And therefore, no matter what you do behind the scenes, how much money you spend, there is zero progression. And Arsenal Football Club have realized that. They've looked at the way City operate. They've looked at the way that the Ajaxes, the Bayern Munichs, the Borussia Dortmunds, who are impeccably run football clubs. They've looked at the way teams like Brighton, teams like Brentford behave, who pound for pound can never compete with Arsenal. But it doesn't mean you can't take their principles on board and essentially supercharge them because you're a giant club. And I wanted to address this because a lot of people will focus on the style of football and how the team plays and the signings. And of course, all those people need huge credit. Arteta, Jesus, Saka, Partey, whoever, Saliba, what he's done since he's returned. Tommy Asu's been a brilliant signing. All these players, the coaches, the manager have done brilliantly. But huge credit has to go to the operation, the way the club's been run. Now, I go back to my previous point. Arsenal fans have got to maintain the pressure to keep the club where it is. You've seen that FSG were doing a brilliant job. And in recent years, they've stopped spending. And everybody's allowed it to happen at Liverpool. And I mean the fans. And now they're crumbling away because there's been a lack of investment. And I saw this in my professional life. There was a time when I worked in the banking industry, the country went through turmoil and they cut back everybody's bonuses. And they told us, we're going to do this in the short term. I remember speaking to a senior executive who said, yeah, we're only going to do it short term to basically appease the public and the media, and then we'll bring the bonuses back. And they were like, we don't want to leave it too long because people will leave. They'll go on to other companies. We don't pay good bonuses. But what they found after about 18, not even that long, after about 9 months, is people weren't leaving or threatening to leave. So they left it and left it and left it and left it. And suddenly it was years later and they hadn't reintroduced the bonus structure. Then what started to happen? They thought, oh, we got away with this. People don't want to leave. People aren't challenging us. Staff are happy, and we're not paying out anywhere near as high bonuses. And I'm talking working class level bonuses, not the city bankers. I'm talking the bonuses that cashiers and personal bankers and branch managers had at retail level here. But then what started to happen is over a 3 to 5 year period, the quality members of staff started to leave for other banks and other industries because they wanted to earn more money. They've got families to support. Now the quality of staff at that level in that industry is awful. And the service standards and the processes and the people that are meant to help the public in those jobs are rubbish, because you essentially, what's the phrase? You pay peanuts, you get monkeys. And that's what's happened. And I think from my point of view, that's what has happened at FSG. And the reason I bring this up is because that's what Arsenal fans have to push back against. That is what Arsenal fans have to ensure doesn't happen. And I've said this for many years. Football fans are the most important people and the most powerful people in football. But you just have to be brave enough to speak up and even sometimes sacrifice just to get your club to where you want it to be, because your football club should be a beacon of the local community it's set in. It should be a beacon for how to operate, how to behave. It should be almost the club in itself should be a role model to its fans around the world. How to become successful, how to get through adversity, how to continue progressing. That is what sport is. Sport is a metaphor for me for life. And that's why I implore my football club to operate itself in the right way. But I have to put pressure on it to do that. So look, I'll go back to the original point. I'm not an Arsenal fan. I won't ever be an Arsenal fan. You can keep accusing me of it if you want to be. That doesn't undermine any of the statements I've made about Arsenal so far this season. I don't get all my predictions right, but this one was one I truly believed in, and they're moving in that direction. I'll keep praising Arsenal when they deserve to be praised. I'll criticize them when they don't. But until next time, take care of yourselves. Goodbye. God bless. Download the One Football app, and I'll see you all again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.